Hey everybody, welcome back to Board Game Blender! Today it is party time! That is the theme of our show, as you are going to hear many times throughout the episode. Sorry. And so party games. We're talking about games to bust out with your family when you have a get-together. Games to play with some friends at a hangout. Party games. And so, we have a lot of segments for you today. I hope you enjoy the show, as always. And I will see you in just a little bit here. So, stick around, have fun, and I'll see you in just a bit. Go!
It's MAGGIBOT here after a couple weeks absence. I'm sorry. I am back for party games. Party games are a little intimidating to me because everyone has a different idea of what's fun at a party or even in a big, large social environment. I personally like to hunker down with just a couple of people and play a game from start to finish. I also like games to have a little bit more mechanic focus than silly or role-playing focus, if possible. So your traditional time's up with some wagers, those types of games are just not for me. But if you'd like something that's got a little more to it and you're looking for a thrill that fits a lot of people, these ones should work out. Well, let's hope. First up is Skull and Roses. This is done by Louis Mem and Asmodee. It plays a little bit like Liar's Dice, but with coasters, and players are hiding coasters in front of themselves and bidding how many coasters at the table they can flip up before they get hit by a skull. Next up is Ladies and Gentlemen, and this is a fabulous game that is a kind of a satirical approach to gender norms. So in Victorian England, you play as teams, a husband and a wife, and the wives go out and shop all day. Husbands go to the stock market during the day, and at the night they tell their wives what they can and cannot purchase. At the end of a week, the wives judge each other's outfits to determine the winner. Now, this is done without table talk unless you're doing it in like a role playing. Very funny, very silly. It welcomes itself to gender swapping or not using, traditional genders for each pair. It's more about the teamwork and communication aspects. It's got a little bit of set collection and a little bit of guesswork, but it's really fun. And last up, and this is for me and Suze, who couldn't be with us, this is Anomia. And Anomia is from Anomia Press, usually sold through toy stores and that kind of distributor. Anomia is a card game for up to 6 players. It has lots of different flavors. It comes in this kind of original packaging, a big 6-deck party pack, and my personal favorite, the word game Duple. Now the way that works is you shuffle up the deck, you put it in the middle. Players take turns flipping cards in front of themselves into a stack. And once there are 2 exposed cards with the same symbol on them, those 2 players are now racing to name something of the other player's category. So if this card says currency and your card says tree, I need to name a tree before you can name a currency to earn your point. Take that point in front of me and I keep it in a little stack. The most points at the end wins. It's great, you have to think on your toes, and it's really funny to watch people not be able to spit out a word that you know that they know. And that is what Anomia is. It's that inability to speak when something is right on the tip of your tongue. I hope you enjoy these games and you get to play a couple of the other suggestions on the channel, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Friends of the Blend, it's party time on Board Game Blender this week, and while party games generally are not near and dear to my heart, there are 2 of them that I'm a big fan of. And so the first one is going to be... Biagi, did you take that game again?
Yes.
You didn't lose it, did you, baby girl?
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Don't make me destroy you.
The judge is going to read the black card, and it might say, during his childhood, Salvador Dali produced hundreds of paintings of blank. And then everybody else playing the game is going to put the white cards face down, and one might say, stranger danger. That's like a public service announcement for children. That's good. Or the economy. That doesn't even really make a whole lot of sense. Or the glass ceiling. Doesn't make a lot of sense with that one, but, maybe they don't have any cards in their hand. Or an ice pick lobotomy. That seems kind of extreme. Or Pac-Man. Oh, that's disgusting. Well, no, that's not a good example. What? Oh, forever unclean. The miracle of childbirth. Oh no. Why would they make a game like this for children? There's so many cards about poop. God. Nope. 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 No, seriously, I don't want to ever see that game in your room again. We'll talk about the psychiatrist later. So, as I was saying, Cards Against Humanity, it's a terrible game for terrible people. On the other hand, a game that could be good at parties, but doesn't accommodate your normal massive group of people that party games are known to accommodate, Rampage. This game is so colorful and bright, and it's got the 3D aspect to it with the buildings that you build out of the meeples, and then it's so active and full of excitement with the dropping the monsters on the buildings and meeples flying everywhere. It really brings people around the table. And technically, if you get 2 sets, you could play up to 8 people. Though that could get a little out of control, and I've never done it myself. But you get to 4 people, and people are playing it, and then it forms a group around the table, and more people want to play after that game's over. It can be a lot of fun. Maybe get a Rampage tournament going, and it could be a lot of fun for a lot of people. And the game doesn't play very long. You normally can get a game in between 30 and 45 minutes. Possibly faster, depending on just how destructive everybody is. So until next time, if you're bored online, bored offline.
Party time! Yeah! Wait a minute, I need something with a little bit more oomph. Yeah, here we go! What just happened? That's not what I had in mind. Excuse me for just 1 second. Hey, thanks for sticking around while I cleaned up. Boy, that was mighty embarrassing. We're talking party games. Now, party games aren't really my forte, but that doesn't mean that I don't like to pull out a party game where everybody can enjoy, even non-gamers, and an impromptu gathering. Everybody loves trivia games, and everybody knows about trivia. But this isn't your normal Trivial Pursuit. It's called Split Second, published in 1992 by Parker Brothers. It's a game where it's not what you know, but how fast you know it. Let me show you. So this is the game Split Second. It is a 3 to 6 player game where the object of the game is to answer 10 questions correctly using this grease pencil right here. So one person will be the moderator, which will roll the dice. The dice is numbered 1 through 5, and it corresponds to a question on the card. If the moderator rolls a blank space, that means play passes to the left, and that person becomes the new moderator. So once the question is read, the person has to get their pencil, quickly write the answer on the pad, and then close it. First person to get the correct answer gains the point. If nobody gets the correct answer, the person closest to that gets the point. The answers are just going to be numbers and letters. Some of the categories are true or false. Some are going to ask you 0 to 10. Some are going to ask you dates or times, and my personal favorite, personal questions about the moderator. This is a great game to pull out at any kind of party situation. So that's all the time I got right now. Join me next time where I showcase another great board game from the past. May your rolls be high, except when you're playing Shadows over Camelot.
Hey, for today's Quirky Game, we are talking about Wink, Wink. And in this one, as you can see, a small box comes with just a few components, really, as you would expect from most party games. Comes with a deck of cards, and it comes with this box here with many pawns, each in their own little spot and everything. Haha. And this game is exceedingly simple. This is a great game when you are hanging out with friends or family. I've had success with both. And the hardest thing about this game and about getting it to the table is the fact that when you explain this game, people are going to give you a weird look. Not a winky look, that's during the game, but like a, really, you want us to play a game about winking at each other? So what I recommend you do is just set her up and explain it as you go. You know, kind of don't talk about it too much before you actually crack it open and show people the cards, because the cards are going to help you sell it, I think. The cards are pretty cute. They're very simple. As you can see, they have numbers and a cute face, and the cute face really is superfluous. It's about the number. And you're going to be laying out these cards on the table. There are 2 decks of cards. The white cards, the black cards, they are 2 identical decks with numbers 1 through 30 or something like that. And so you lay out this, you know, mass of cards however you want to. Just a big array of all of one color. And then every player rather, gets a few of these in their hand, depending on the number of players. And you don't show these to anybody else. And then on your turn, very simple, all you do is you take your pawn, you put it on a card out there you're not holding the match to. So let's say 25. As long as I don't have 25, that's okay. I have 25. 29. Haha. And then all you need to do is figure out who's holding 29. By the time it's the beginning of your turn again, because at the beginning of your turn you're going to say, well, Bob over there has 29, and Bob will say, that's right, Zee winked at me, or I winked at Zee. That's what happened, Bob. And then Bob gets his 29 from his card, and I get the 29 on the table, and I move my bit. If I don't know who has it, possibly no one has it, then we just flip that 29 on the table face down, and I just move this thing to another spot. And so that's the idea. Bob has to let me know by the time it's my turn again. I really need to use a different person. Amy, that's better, over there needs to let me know that she's the one holding the 29 by the time it's my turn again. And so they need to wink at me without being caught. That's the idea. And if you do get caught, well, every player has some of these cards. J'accuse! Which means you're going to play one of these and say, boom, I caught you winking at Zee. I take that person who caught Amy winking at me would take that 29 on the one from the table. They keep both in their score pile. And so that's the game. And you keep going until someone is out of cards. Super simple. Sounds really dumb. I get that. But this game has, every time I pull it out, is a success, a resounding success, in fact. And it's one of those games that I did not put a lot of stock into, but after having played it many times and having had just so much fun with it, I cannot see myself getting rid of this one. Wink is a huge hit, and yeah, it sounds weird, and it's a quirky game with the whole you gotta wink at people, so, you know, maybe not the first game of the night, but once your players at the party are a little bit more warmed up, then I recommend you pull out Wink. This is a funny game that is a lot better than you would think it is, than even it sounds. And so, Wink, I do highly recommend it. Check this one out, guys. Wink!
Hello fellow fans of the brand, the Nerdy Girl here, trying to turn you on to another game. It's called The Masquerade. So it's not quite a party game, it's more of a ball. Here at The Masquerade, we have a very unique condition that happens. It's called the swap, where you can switch your role in the game with another player's. You do this by putting them under the table or behind your back. I know this can seem awkward, but when everyone's doing it, no one feels left out. It allows for this game to have many moments of tricking other players and fun and victory for everyone because everyone can get the better of someone at some point in the game. This is in contrast to other hit and roll deduction games such as Werewolf or The Resistance, which is why I feel this game is especially good in groups because it encourages personal interaction as one another moves across the table and changes roles and tricks one another. Yes, the other actions might not be as fun. You can see who you are at the ball by looking under your card, or you can essentially declare who you are and take that particular action, because technically that's how you win the game. But playing it is so much more fun, and swapping is a lot more interesting than actually going for the win condition. Perhaps that's why I lose. Some critics of this game would argue it is so heavily skewed towards memory, anyone who doesn't have that skill coming into the game will not be able to play it effectively. I argue it really depends on the play group, since if everyone's being very chaos-driven and there's lots of swapping going on and it's just hard to keep track of 13 other players, even those with the best memory and alpha gamers will squirm at just the fun, rompous attitude. And that's why this game can shine. On the other hand, even though it says it works for 2 players, once you go down from the larger numbers, pretty much 5 and above, it really loses some of that impact and can be a lot less fun. Who should avoid this game? This game doesn't really work for people who are opposed to bluffing, since you're gonna forget your role or your role's gonna get swapped out. Sometimes the only way to progress the game is to declare you're someone you're not, which is a potential action. Because yes, you could declare who you are and take that action, but you can also say you're someone else. If that is something that bothers you to your core because you're just too honest and people can read your face, you might not like this game. Be forewarned though, those who are too bold and are willing to risk too much, you can get called out. And if someone wham reveals that they're actually you, they get to take your action and you're penalized on top of it by losing gold, which is ultimately how you win the game. Although this is something that you have to risk in order to succeed at the game, those moments of either getting called out on a bluff or bluffing and getting through, I find very fulfilling. And hey, if I forget who I am, I just laugh it off because you know what? That's part of the fun for me.
Hello folks, welcome to Corner Chat. I'm Mark, and today we're talking about party games. And with me, I have Tiffany Ralph, the one tar. Thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So tell us some of your favorite party games.
Well, so right now, my favorite party game, and actually for a while now, has been Fun Employed. It was designed by Anthony Contra, and I think they actually just kickstarted a second edition for it.
Really? I didn't know that.
I actually ended up with the first edition, and I love Fun Employed. It's kind of similar to Snake Oil, where you have one person who's the judge,
right,
and then everybody has a hand of cards, except for instead of trying to sell products, you're trying to get a job. So the person that is the judge has an employment card, and they're hiring for like a waitress position or a sidekick or something like that, and everybody has personality trait cards, and you basically go in and do the job interview, and you have to use your personality trait cards. So it could be things like egomaniac, afraid of water, like different things like that. And so it's always a hoot.
That's awesome.
I basically always lose my voice when I play by the end of the night. So
that's even better.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the second edition because more cards and awesome stuff like that.
So cool. So what are some of your best party game moments that you can think of? Or your favorite? Can you think of a favorite moment?
I think one of my favorites is we played Jungle Speed with my family.
Yeah.
I love Jungle Speed.
Right.
And we were playing with my mom and my brother and my sister-in-law and like their best friends and a few other people. And we were all we play standing, like we can't sit.
Right.
And we have the giant dining room table. It's in the center, and a flip happens, and like my mom and my sister-in-law and I all dive for the totem at the same time, and just like this mad scramble.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then it turns out that it wasn't even a match. So Like, two of the people that thought they were going weren't even matching.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
That's really good. Okay, so how about folks in your groups that might be introverts? How do you suck them into party games?
Usually it's maybe not my groups, but like if I go to a party and they're not necessarily a gamer group, and so they're more closed off. I like to do Z to Z by Peter Newland.
Okay.
It was on Kickstarter. I don't think it successfully funded, but you can still get a copy of the game. But it's a great one because it's a game about not trying to laugh. So if you're an introvert, people are like, introverts are generally like, I got this. But it's fun because like you're trying not to laugh or show any emotion, kind of like a zombie. And if you smile or anything, you become a zombie, and then you try to make other people laugh by doing things.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah,
it's a very, very quick game, but it's a really great icebreaker and is really good at getting people that aren't usually, extrovert out of their shells.
Cool. Very cool. Well, tell us where folks can find you.
So you can find me on Twitter. I'm really active on Twitter.
Yeah.
Warning. I
can verify that.
I'm the One Tar on Twitter. I also have a YouTube channel, which is the One Tar. Basically the One Tar everywhere.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, great. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. It's great. And thank you, folks, for watching. And until next time, we'll see you at the table.
See ya.
Have you ever gone to sleep in the middle of the night, and when you do, you hear scratching and clawing on the windows? You don't know what it is, but when you wake up, the person sleeping next to you was killed. This is the theme of one of the original party games called Werewolf, which you played with a lot of people. Now, the designer that I'm going to be talking about this week, his name is Ted Alsbach, and he's designed many variants of Werewolf down the road with his company Bezier Games. One of them is called Ultimate Werewolf, where there is lots and lots of new powers added into it. There's artifacts and other things that you could use added into it. It just adds to the whole werewolf party game experience. Another one he designed is called One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and he made an expansion of that called Daybreak. These two are, instead of a full game where you're spending an hour or two playing and people get eliminated, this is one night with really intense logic coming into it, so it adds a lot more than just the party aspect while still being a party game. He has a new one coming out that he worked with Indie Board and Cards for it, and that one is called One Night Resistance, where they're now taking One Night Werewolf and combining it with the Resistance to make a new game which should be coming out soon. So if you're looking for the werewolf experience, whether it's in the Ultimate Werewolf Edition, the One Night Edition, the new Combination Resistance Edition, you should look at Ted Alsbach and you'll find a good game that he designed about werewolf.
Hey, for this episode's Under the Radar segment, I want to talk about a bluffing game, a straight bluffing game called Skull. Skull, this is a second version of a game that was called Skull and Roses. Then they came out with another version of that. Then they came out with this version just called Skull. There's several different themings of the game as well, simply because, well, it's a fairly abstract bluffing game. And while the game originally was fairly popular, it's sort of faded a little bit. I don't see anybody playing it. I haven't really heard very much about it. I know this one was out of print for a little bit. And there was a minor, a minor burst of, ooh, we need this game. And then it kind of faded and they're back in print and nobody seems to want them anymore. I think largely the problem there is that when you think a small bluffing game, these days, a lot of people, it seems to me, going by what I'm seeing, just sort of being active on Twitter and listening, most people are thinking this now, which is Cockroach Poker. Now, this is Cockroach Poker Royal, but same thing. This is slightly different, but really the same game. And in this game, you take a card, you look at what the animal is, you give it to someone else secretly, and you tell them what it is. They either believe you or don't believe you. They flip it if they, believe you, bad or good things happen. That's the deal. However, this game is even simpler than that, and it is much more beautiful. These are the cards that each player has. And these are basically, as you can see, like cardboard tiles. They look like coasters, and they are stunningly beautiful. You have 3 of these flowers and 1 skull. And every player has a set of these. And each flower is different, and each skull is different. And the game just looks beautiful set up on the table. You have all of these colors for each player, and it's just stunning. It's a perfect game to play when you have not necessarily a frenetic kind of party vibe happening, but everybody's past that point where like maybe the music was going and people were sort of active and talking and all of that, hanging out. And now the mood has settled a little bit. And people want to sit around and relax and maybe play a little something. The rules are extremely simple. I mean, really, really simple. You're going to play a card on your turn in front of you face down, or you are going to try to see if you can, you're going to basically say a number and see if you can reveal that many cards around the table from the top of people's piles without hitting a skull. That's largely it. I mean, there's a couple of other tiny little extra rules in there, but that's pretty much it. And so I do like this one for that setting more than I like Cockroach Poker. I think it's amazing, it's funny, beautiful, and it needs to get out there some more. I think it needs to be brought back. This is a given for that scenario, my friend, so check it out, Skull. I love it.
Hey guys, Tiff here to talk a little bit about party games that work well with middle schoolers. Now, I'm not a huge party game fan myself, but they are a great choice if you're starting out a board game club because it's a really fun way for the members to get to know each other, and they usually have high player counts. When my group started off, the kids really didn't like the idea of splitting up, so party games were an obvious choice for us. They're over that now, but we still have one party game that makes it to the table on a regular basis, and that is Wits and Wagers. Here's a little bit more about it. Wits and Wagers is a trivia game, but the beauty part is you don't have to know the correct answers to any of the questions. Sure, you start out by guessing an answer on your player board. How many slices of pizza does the average American eat in a year? After everyone has taken a guess, you sort the answers from highest to lowest out on the board. Then, once you start the timer, each player or team gets to place 2 wager tokens on the answer they think is most correct without going over. They can bet just the wager tokens worth 1 point each, or spice things up with additional point chips. You can even place your tokens on 2 different answers. Once time is up, the answer is revealed and the correct answer pays out. The remaining bets are put into the bank and you're on to the next round. The player with the most points at the end of 7 questions wins. There are 2 other versions of Wits and Wagers. Wits and Wagers Family and Wits and Wagers Party both simplify the betting process. If you're playing with younger kids, the family version is worth a look because it replaces the point chips with a score track and you simply bet with meeples worth 1 and 2 points respectively, and the first to get to the end of the score track wins. Some of the kids in my group prefer this simplicity, but most can handle the complexity of the classic version. I'll be the first to admit, if you invite me to play a party game, especially one that looks like a party game and can be purchased at Target, I'm likely to cringe at the thought. However, through my kids, I have learned that some of that snobbery is unwarranted, and in fact, we have had hours of fun playing Wits and Wagers and Telestrations at Board Game Club. By writing my own orchestra-related questions, I've been able to turn Wits and Wagers into a teaching tool for my classroom, and the fact that these games can be found in close proximity to diapers, orange juice, paper plates, cereal, just increases the likelihood that my kids will be able to get their whole families into gaming, and ultimately that's my goal. So next time you're doing some shopping, I hope you'll consider Wits and Wagers, and I'll see you back next time.
Hey folks, welcome back to Real Talk with Sam, and this week we're talking about party games. My forte, as it were. I am usually the last person to want to play party games at any gaming event. Of course, I kind of expect party games when you go to certain events when there's going to be a lot of non-gamers there. So I can mentally prepare myself, I guess, to play party games, but more often than not, I'm not having it. I'll usually play whatever everybody else wants to play. I'm rarely very pushy about choosing what game that we're going to play and being obstinate. This is the game we're going to play. I don't care what you want. I want to play this game. And if I really don't want to play the game, I'll excuse myself. This isn't hard for me because, quite frankly, I don't like that many party games, so choosing what games I was going to talk about was really simple. Here it goes. Geschenkt is a game where you take these cards, and the cards have numbers on them, and you're trying to get the lowest amount of points possible. The cards, the numbers on the cards represent how many points that card's going to be worth at the end of the game. Each player starts with these little red tiddlywinks, and if you don't want the card that's out there, you place a red tiddlywink on there. Now, red tiddlywinks are actually negative points at the end of the game. Remember, you're trying to get the lowest points possible. And so the game goes around where if you don't want that card, you put that little red disc on there. Whoever then decides, okay, I'm going to take the card, takes the card and all the red chips that are on it. So now that person has more no thanking power for later on in the game. It's a really cool game, plays really fast, and I enjoy it. No thanks. The second game that I wanted to talk about is a game that I have played the snot out of. I mean, there is absolutely no more snot in any of these apples. But then another game came along that made me want to do this, and that is Say Anything. Say Anything is just like Apples to Apples, except it's better. It gives you a choice of 5 different questions that you can ask instead of just having one green card. And then everybody else, instead of having red cards that they have to play down in a hand, you can write whatever you want on this little dry erase board. For example, it says, if I could have a big anything, what would it be? And so different responses have been an army of monkeys. That'd be my choice. A big diamond ring from George Clooney. Now, really? Another game that I really enjoy playing, but usually more at conventions, is this little bad boy right here. Wits and Wagers is a very fun spin on the whole trivia game aspect. Each team has to kind of bet on what answer that was proffered is the closest to being correct without going over. All of the answers are numerical answers. Sometimes they're years, dollar amounts, just straight up numbers. The convention format is where it really shines. If you ever have a chance to play Wits and Wagers, run at a convention with Tom and Eric or whoever else might be there, go for it because it's usually a very fun, a very cool experience. The next game I want to talk about today is a little game called Ink and Gold. Ink and Gold is a push your luck game where each of the players take the persona of adventurers going into a cave trying to find the most treasure, spelunking and braving the dangers of the cave. And basically you have to decide every round. You have a treasure card flipped over, and based upon that treasure card and what's already been flipped over, you have to decide, am I going to go further into the cave or am I going to go back to camp and take what I have found as the cave or as the spelunking keeps going and there's a very long row and the likelihood of you dying on that next flipped card is very high, so the stress, the tension is very cool, and it does hold up to 8 people. So it's quick. It definitely would warrant multiple plays in a single sit. So Ink and Gold, give it a try. So as you can see, I do like playing party games. But these are my kind of party games. Listen, folks, I know I say this a lot, but please remember, I'm just trying to keep it real. See you on the flip side. Ink and Gold is a cool...
That's our show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to our party time. I just had to say it one more time. And a big thank you to all my contributors. As always, they rock and they absolutely make this show. And I hope to see you again in just 2 short weeks when we're going to be talking Blockbusters season. It's the time of the year for the heavy hitters at the box office. And so we're going to be looking at games that have to do with superheroes and spies and intellectual properties, games based on intellectual properties from movies, and games that clearly ripped off some intellectual properties but didn't give up that money. And so, lots of fun stuff there. Check us out, please. As always, a big thank you again. And hey, stay a friend of the blend. See ya.